Hey guys, Brian here with Sound Yeti. Today I want to take you through the in-depth walkthrough of our brand new library called Ambition. So if you've checked out the previous two videos, the installation guide and the presets and sounds walkthrough, then you have an idea of what this instrument can do. But I know there's probably some of you wondering, how do I create my own sounds with it and how deep can I customize these sounds? So today, I've loaded up the main NKI file, which starts with a preset called Welcome to Ambition, which sounds like this. So you can hear there's a lot going on in that sound. It's a very evolving sound. But how can we strip that back and kind of create our own sounds like this instead of relying on the presets all the time? So obviously you can see we have two different sound sources you can load up at a time. We have layer A and layer B here. To browse through the sounds, you simply click that and you will be shown all the different sound sources you can choose from. So there is a total of 252 separate sound sources. If you'd like to reset the samples of any given preset, simply go down here in the very bottom corner and click the reset button. You can reset layer A, layer B, or reset both by clicking reset all. So I've clicked that, and now we have just a sound like this. Very dry, very short. It's almost like a key, almost a pluck type sound, as opposed to that long evolving sound. So that right there shows you all of the designing and processing that goes in to create that long evolving pad from a sound like this. So let's scroll back up. And as you can see, we have ADSR controls for each layer here, as well as width, panning, and tuning. You can bypass the effects and the LFO section by simply clicking either one of these here. In the center we have the volume mixer for mix A, mix B, and then the master volume for the whole patch. So now we have a sound like this. It sustains when we hold the key, but it cuts off as soon as we release those keys. So let's start to change the sound and really shape it by raising the attack, maybe setting the release a little bit higher, as well as the sustain and the decay. Now you see I let go of those keys and this, the sound continues to stay there. Now if you want to apply these parameters here to both sound sources, simply click that button there. Now all of the ADSR controls that were once assigned to layer B are now taken care of by the ADSR controls for layer A. We can also pan each one individually, so let's pan that to the left and pan this one to the right. Boost up the width there, get a wider sound. Now let's make it a little bit more interesting and swap out these sound sources for something a little bit different. And go switch out layer B for something else as well. Now that's a more interesting sound already. It's really starting to come to life. You can hear there's a lot of kind of undulating effects going on in those layers. So let's check out the middle section now with the effects and the LFO. So for our equalizer here, we have low, mid, and high, and you can adjust the frequency for each band as well as the gain. By default, they are set to a bell curve, but if you'd like to enable a high or low shelf, simply click these buttons here. When the background is glowing, that means the high shelf or the low shelf is enabled. By default, it's set to a bell curve. Let's go to the compressor. Threshold, ratio, attack, release, standard compressor. Now, if you want to mirror the A side parameters with B, simply click that. Now only side A is controlling both layer B and A. Same thing applies if you'd like to have layer B control both layers, simply click that. It's a good way to kind of A/B your sounds right on the fly, have two different compressor settings, and see what they both sound like just with the click of a button. Now let's get have a bit more fun with it. Let's get to the distortion here. So we have different distortion types, tube and transistor. Now this is going to make it sound a bit more gritty, which I personally love, so let's check this out. So we have tube distortion, which is going to be nice and warm and a bit more subtle. Then we have the transistor, which is kind of all out in your face grittiness. Next we have the lo-fi section, which can get you that really nice, nasty bit crushed sound. Kind of dial in the sweet spot there with the bits there. Now just by adding the compressor, distortion, and lo-fi, and let's add in a little bit of EQ there, boost the high frequencies just a bit. And already we have like a really nasty sound that sounds nothing like what we initially started with. So for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to turn those back off and show you the saturation, which we have three different types again: classic, enhance, and drums. Let's see what that sounds like. So the saturation is going to give a much warmer sound than the distortion, obviously. Now let's go on to the chorus. Standard chorus effects apply here. However, you can get something very crazy, turning up the wet signal and experimenting a bit with the depth, speed, and phase, and you'll get something kind of crazy like this. So already we're starting to see the power of the sound shaping capabilities here. Again, just a demonstration of everything. So when we combine all of these, I promise we are going to create something pretty fascinating. Let's go to the delay, of course, standard delay. You can sync it, or you can adjust the time manually, as long as all your standard delay functions, and 4 different delay types: modern, analog, tape, and vintage. And then finally, the reverb, which we have quite a few different reverbs here, different convolutions to get a really huge sound or a nice kind of warm room sound, or even a plate reverb. We've got it all right here. So let's throw it into the church and see what that sounds like. Now I'm going to mess with all of the different effects and try to get something a bit more usable instead of just these kind of crazy demonstrations that I've been doing. So now you can see we've really shaped this sound. It's something totally new and unique compared to that initial kind of key pluck sound that we started with. Now, to really add some fun modulation to it, I love this section, the LFO section. What's really unique about this is the visualization we have going on for the actual LFO. So let's turn this on and see what we get. So now this really sounds like something that you could use in a movie trailer. As you can see, I was doing a lot there with the different LFOs, so let me go in depth and kind of explain that. So here we have the different wave shapes here. I was using the sine wave. You can use a triangle, square, and saw as well. So you can have it sync to tempo and do either quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, triplets, stuff like that, or you can adjust it manually, again, simply by clicking the sync function there. Now we have different parameters that you can control with the LFO function as well. We have volume, panning, width, pitch. You heard I turned it to the pitch at one point and it gets that very wobbly, pitchy type sound. And I lowered the intensity and it was just kind of a slowly undulating pitch bend, which sounded really, really awesome. At first I had the intensity all the way up and it was a bit too pitchy and wobbly, but really taking time to dial in these sounds, you can get something really special like what I had just created. Sounded like a perfect trailer sound, and we created it all on our own. We didn't use any presets, so that is always something special, and it's very easy to get these kind of great results with Ambition. So again, just like the other parameters of this library, we can assign different functions to A and B for the LFO, or you can mirror them just like that. Again, layer A is now controlling B, and vice versa when you click this. But it's kind of fun to do them both at the same time. If you want to bypass either one, simply click the A or B right there in the center. Now finally, let's go down to the performance mode, which you can actually bypass the ADSR and the LFO and the effects altogether. And if you want the quickest results, simply go right down to the performance section. You can see we have a sculpt function here, echoes in the middle, and then the breath function over here. So I'll explain what each of those do. The sculpt function is a global high pass and low pass filter. This will be for the high pass, this will be for the low pass. Moving them left and right will adjust the frequency cutoff. Moving them up and down will adjust the resonance. So that is a global control that applies to the entire patch that we have, both layer A and layer B. Over here we have the slope function, which you can adjust from tight, medium to wide, and you can see how the visuals correspond with whichever slope we have picked. So again, you can turn each one of these on and off simply by clicking that, and the button will light up purple when the effect is enabled. Now in the middle we have the echoes function, which is a dual band delay, and this is a lot of fun to play with. Again, even if you haven't adjusted the ADSR or the effects or LFO at all, you can simply come down here to performance, and the results will be much quicker if you simply turn on the echoes, and now you have these really brilliant delays going on. If you want to adjust the high frequencies and the low frequencies of the delay, simply adjust the high cut and the low cut here. And then finally we have the breath control over here, which is actually a cabinet simulator, which is something actually pretty unique to a library of pads and synthesizer type sounds. So this is a cab simulator that you would normally apply to an electric guitar or a guitar library. And it's going to add a lot of warmth and character to these sounds. So simply click that to turn it on, and then you can adjust from 11 different cabinet types, and let's see what that sounds like. So you can hear, as I adjusted the XY controller here, it will tell you exactly what is being controlled here. So there I'm adjusting the tone, left and right, moving it up and down adjusts the amount of reverb. Now if you'd like to save this preset, which I definitely do so I can use it again in the future, we go up here and click the snapshot function. It might be on the info function, so just look right there, click the camera so it's on snapshot, and click save. Type My Ambition preset, save, and it'll be right here in your user presets. Now finally I want to touch on a really cool feature here, which is the A-B split, which allows you to split the keys. I'm going to go ahead and reset everything and just randomize the samples. So now we have a different sample for A and B that are a bit more clear as opposed to that really resonant sound that I just made. So now the keyboard is split into two sides, and you can play layer A down here in the blue and layer B up here in the purple. Now if you'd like to make kind of a lead sound with this, you can hear how we have, some good basses and some really great pads. What if you want to make a lead type sound? So what I'm going to do is turn the attack all the way down, kind of mess with these until it sounds so it's not too snatched, but it doesn't ring out too long. So let's experiment a bit with that. So it's not perfect, but again, just kind of messing with the attack. You heard how when I turned the attack all the way down, it was again a very short plucked sound. So there's a lot that you can do just by adjusting simple controls with this and turning something that would initially be a pluck into a long evolving pad, turning something that would be a long evolving pad or a bass into a kind of distorted lead. So there are tons of things that you can do with this, and I hope this video shed some light on the more in-depth functions and features of Ambition and how you can really create your own signature sound so you don't have to rely on presets all the time. In fact, a really great way to get your own sound is to maybe start with a preset and go into the effects in LFO and see exactly what's going on under the hood and adjusting that, and you'll really learn how the different parameters work, how the effects work, how the performance effects work, and then you can start like what I did in this video and start from scratch and make your own unique sounds. So I know this was a pretty long video, so thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I just really wanted to shine some light on the more in-depth and advanced functions and features of Ambition, because all the tools are right here in front of you. I'm so excited for you guys to check out Ambition, and I will see you next time. Thanks again.